Lee 35-0 this season, 144-0 in his career, a three-time defending state champion looking for title number 4 tonight. He'll have to get past an undefeated wrestler as well, Austin DeSanto. DeSanto trying to get around back. He will run out of time. Oh, they give it to him.
125 pounds in the college wrestling world has just been insane over the last three seasons.
And this weight has been a unique weight for the past 3 years. This year's not that much different.
Yeah.
Since the year 2023, there have been 18 ranked number 1 wrestlers in the country. 18. In 2023, Jacob Camacho was ranked number 1. He didn't even All-American that season. Nico Provo from Stanford even spent some time being ranked number 1. But he would walk into the NCAA tournament with the 14th seed. Third place finisher from a season ago, Lightning Luke, just lost to his teammate Nate Desmond, who's a true freshman. If you watch my recap on National Duels, you've heard all about me talk about Vincent Robinson talking about bringing stability back to this weight class. The very next week, he would lose to Eddie Ventresco. But not that long ago, not only was there balance, but there was consistency at this weight class. From the years 2017 to 2023, Spencer Lee would be the final boss at 125 pounds. At Iowa, Spencer Lee will be a multiple-time All-American and a 3-time national champion, even winning the Hodge Trophy twice, which is the Heisman Trophy for college wrestlers. When Spencer Lee was in college, everyone knew that 125 pounds belonged to him. No matter the adversity that he faced throughout the year, he would always find a way to win a national championship. And this hasn't slowed down since graduating from Iowa. For the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, Spencer Lee would make the team at 57 kilograms, finishing as a silver medalist. This would be his first Olympic Games, showing how great Spencer Lee really is. However, if you go back in time and tell Spencer Lee or anyone in the wrestling world that Spencer Lee would become this successful, no one would be surprised and or shocked. This is because since he was 7 years old, Spencer Lee has always had this massive hype behind his name. We've all heard this story before. Youth and or high school stars who just quite didn't live up to the hype. So if Spencer Lee was a failure, this wouldn't be any new news, as we've seen this time and time again. But this wouldn't be the case for Spencer Lee. Rather, if it was Super 32 finals, state finals, national finals, or the Olympic semifinals, Spencer Lee found time and time again ways to keep winning. But the million-dollar question is, how did we get here? What did Spencer Lee do to be levels above everyone that he wrestled against? How did Spencer Lee live up to the hype? Through injuries that Spencer faced, upsets, setbacks, and the sky-high expectations that the world placed on Spencer Lee when he wasn't even a teenager yet. Let's take a deep dive into Spencer Lee's wrestling career to see what makes him different from every other hyped-up athlete. Spencer would start wrestling at the young age of 6 years old. Instantly, he would be born as a natural at the sport, with combat sports in his blood. His mother, Kathy Lee, would be a member of the judo Olympic team, with his father being the Olympic coach for the same judo team that his mother was on. He got high-level training basically from birth, with his parents understanding that the most important thing at this age was just developing at the sport. So his parents wouldn't worry about cutting weight or winning youth tournaments. Instead, they would try to get him tough matches and better competition.
No, every time I was above weight class, my dad just put me the next weight above.
Even for the big tournaments?
Everything, yeah. He didn't care. It's all about...
Spencer Lee's been quoted saying that his dad tried to get Spencer to lose some matches just because he was winning every tournament and every match, which is insane due to the fact that during this time period, he lived in the toughest wrestling state probably in America, Pennsylvania. With his parents understanding that development and long-term success was the goal for Spencer Lee, every summer they would make Spencer Lee take a month off the wrestling mat. This would include anything wrestling related, such as running, lifting, or anything of that nature, just because they knew how hard the sport was and the big impact that it had on his body. And in return, Spencer Lee would come back to the mat even better than before, and everyone would be asking him, hey, where did you train at? How did you get this good? But in reality, he was just taking time off to develop his skills and just develop a deeper love for the sport of wrestling. But as Spencer Lee got older, the hype behind his name would grow. It seemed like every year he would just get bigger and bigger, and by the time he was in 7th grade, Spencer Lee would be a household name with everyone knowing who he was, and this would include legendary coach Terry Brands even knowing Spencer Lee was the real deal.
His name.
Oh my gosh. I met him looking at a wall bracket. You were in 7th grade?
Was that 2012?
You had...
And this was done by Spencer Lee beating everyone and winning every major youth tournament. Spencer Lee would start his high school career in the year 2013 to 2014. So this means before even stepping foot in high school, he'd already made a USA Cadet World Team in the summer of 23, beating everyone he wrestled against by tech fall at the Cadet World Team trials. This would include athletes like Dayton Fix and Jack Mueller. And the crazy part about this is Spencer Lee did this all at the age of 14. But it doesn't stop there when it comes to high school success before coming to high school. Spencer Lee, who's still in 8th grade during this time period, and future longtime rival Nick Soriano would put on an all-time classic at Super 32, just showing the levels that Spencer Lee was at such a young age. Even though he would lose this match, it showed that he was above all of his peers, as Nick Soriano would go on to win a New Jersey State title that year and have an undefeated season. These two accomplishments would just add more hype to the Spencer Lee name, with the world labeling him a child prodigy, and everyone in the wrestling world could not wait for Spencer Lee to get to high school for the next 4 years of his career. And oh man, was it worth the wait. And the next 4 years, Spencer Lee would display one of the greatest high school careers by any athlete. Before Spencer Lee could even start high school, everyone knew that they would be getting a star whatever high school he went to. Not a star in the making, but a star right now who would one day be a legend of the sport. Flo would actually make an article talking about the move that Spencer Lee would make, revealing to the high school world where he would be spending the next 4 years of his career. This article talked about how Spencer Lee would now be making the move from Sagertown, PA to Murraysville, PA to attend Franklin Regional High School. This move for Spencer Lee and his family was about 2 hours away, but it showed the type of sacrifices that his parents was willing to make so that Spencer could have all the best resources that he needed to. So before the high school season could even kick off, Spencer would find himself back in the Super 32 finals versus Nick Soriano, making the matchup a finals rematch from last year. This time, Spencer Lee would get the win, putting the high school world on notice that he was here and ready for the best in the country, adding a Super 32 belt to his freshman resume. The high school season would then begin. The Franklin Regional team that Spencer Lee would now be joining was already a top team in the tough state of PA. Adding Spencer Lee to this team was just completely unfair to every other team. Not in the state of PA, but in the country, as this team would have 5+ Division I wrestlers. Speaking of every team out of state, Franklin Regionals would start their season at the toughest in-season high school tournament up in Ohio, the Ironman tournament. This meant that Spencer Lee would step right into the fire as a freshman to see if he could live up to the hype. And at a tough tournament like Ironman, surely someone would test the young freshman Spencer Lee, right? Hell no. Spencer would go on to win his first Ironman championship in dominating fashion. He would bonus point everyone that he wrestled with ease. In the finals, Spencer Lee would be up against Anthony Bosco, who was a senior at the time and already committed to a Division I school in North Carolina. Spencer Lee would pin him in the first period. This level of dominance he displayed at the toughest in-season tournament led for Spencer Lee to be named the most outstanding wrestler of the tournament, over big-name wrestling guys such as Bo Nickel, Joey McKenna, Zahid Valencia. As a freshman, that is insane. He would follow this up by doing the exact same thing at the second, I think in my opinion, in-season tournament, the PIAA tournament, bonus pointing everyone he competed against. After these two back-to-back standout performances, I'm sure every high school coach just accepted the fact that Spencer Lee was gonna dog walk anyone that he competed against for the next 3 years. He would go on to finish his freshman season with a 49-0 record and win his first state title, literally beating the hell out of everyone.
Okay, so you want to win Worlds, and states is just sort of another step.
It's just a step a little bit below Worlds. It's still huge.
As good as the folk style season was for Lee, he was just getting started, because now it was time for freestyle. At the 2014 Cadet World Team Trials, Spencer Lee would outscore the field 72-1. 1 point was given up at the Cadet World Team Trials. It's important to remember that Spencer didn't have the world championships that he wanted to in 2013, pre-high school. So based on the 2014 results, it's safe to say that he wanted everyone to know that he was truly levels above the field. Spencer Lee would win the 2014 Cadet World Championships, and he would outscore the field 32-0 along with the pinfall. Spencer Lee would finish his freshman season with the Super 32 title, an Ironman title, a PIAA title, and in freestyle, everyone he competed against that season, he would outscore them 104-1, becoming the youngest Cadet World Champion at the time at 15 years old. So he did all of this at 15. After this standout freshman season, if you didn't know who Spencer Lee was before the season started, you knew at the end of the freestyle season. Coming into his sophomore year of high school, I'm sure everyone was wondering one thing: how could Spencer Lee live up to his reputation after the standout freshman season that he just had? And well, honestly, it was the same results, just a different year. Another Super 32 belt, but this time he would get a fall in the finals in 26 seconds by pinning his opponent in a tilt in the Super 32 finals. After seeing this, I'm sure everyone at 120 pounds took notes that it was going to be a long year if you had to wrestle Franklin Regional High School. Lee would then win another Ironman title, majoring the number 7th ranked wrestler in the country with a score of 13-2. And after the match, you could see how visibly upset Spencer was that he didn't get the tech fall. This just showed how high he actually thought of himself. He would then take out his frustrations on literally everyone else. He would win another PIAA title, going 48-0 and dominating yet another state tournament by winning his second straight state title. Now was on to the freestyle season, looking for yet another Cadet World Championship to add on his already stacked sophomore year resume. He would enter the Cadet World Team Trials and he would crush everyone, cruising to the finals. Making the wrestling world ask one simple question. Not could anyone beat Spencer Lee, because that was just simply out of the question, but could anyone make it close? Could anyone give him a good scare? But there was one brave soul in the wrestling world.
Speculation, Spencer Lee might be that Cadet World Champion. Is that a matchup you would be looking forward to?
Yeah.
Dayton Fix. This is before he decided getting second place was the new cool, and during this time, Fix was considered one of the best high school wrestlers in the country. The best of 3 series between Dayton Fix and Spencer Lee would take place after the Who's Number 1 war Dayton Fix would have with Nick Soriano in 2014. So everyone knew that Dayton Fix was a high-level guy, but just how high level was he? Was he on the level of Spencer Lee? Fix would show that he was the cream of the crop by beating Spencer Lee in 2 straight matches. Match 1, 5-5, match 2, 9-6.
And that's gonna do it, Dayton Fix! Wow! 2 straight matches, an incredible series between these two.
This would be Spencer Lee's first loss in almost 3 years, and losing back-to-back matches was actually insane at the time. I remember thinking that the world was going to actually end, because I thought, as many other people thought, that Spencer Lee losing was just simply impossible. This would bring Spencer back to reality and show that even the best could be beaten. So with Spencer Lee not making a world team for his age level, what would he do with the summer? Surely Spencer Lee didn't want to go to Fargo, as he would just dog walk everyone in the field. So Spencer Lee decided to wrestle the Junior World Team Trials instead. But you have to remember, this is before the USA Youth Movement. Even the best wrestlers wouldn't dare try to wrestle up an age division, especially in freestyle, where making the Cadet World Team was just as hard as making the Junior World Team. So Spencer would drop down from 54 kilograms to 50 kilograms. This would roughly be 9 pounds where he just competed at in the Cadet World Team Trials in late May, with the Junior World Team Trials being in early June. The wrestling world would be shocked by this decision, and seeing that he could now be beaten, the decision for Spencer Lee to go up in age division just made the Junior World Team Trials that more interesting that year. So how would Spencer Lee do with a step up in competition at the Junior World Team Trials? He would tech fall everyone, outscoring the field 40-0, not giving up a single point. And it wouldn't stop there for Spencer Lee. This would also be the case for the Junior World Championships, as he would tech fall everyone, scoring the field 54-4. This tournament is supposed to have the best wrestlers at this age level, meaning that each match, or at least the finals or the semifinals, should be a nail biter. Not for Spencer Lee. Even after losing back-to-back matches to Dayton Fix, Spencer showed that he was still levels above everyone, including Dayton Fix, as he got 3rd at the Cadet World Championships that year. So Spencer Lee would follow up his amazing freshman year by winning everything that he did the year before, but not a Cadet World Championship. He would one-up himself and become a Junior World Champion. At this point in time, everyone knew the routine for Spencer Lee for folk style. Go get a Super 32 belt, then an Ironman title, then a Powerade title, and then go beat everyone's ass in the toughest state for high school wrestling. However, that would not be the case for Spencer Lee's junior year of high school. He actually wouldn't compete until late inside of the PIAA regular season. So why wasn't Spencer Lee out here beating the hell out of all the top-ranked wrestlers? Well, you remember the Junior World Championship that he just won where he outscored the best wrestlers in the world 54-4? It came out shortly after the World Championships that Lee had a torn labrum the entire time. While Spencer Lee was at the OTC getting ready for the Junior World Championships, he would have some soreness in his arm. He wouldn't think anything of it and then proceed to beat the hell out of everyone in the world with one arm. I'm sure every coach and athlete at this weight class had a parade knowing that there was an actual shot to win Super 32, Ironman, and Powerade. The celebration would be short-lived because Spencer Lee would come right back to the high school scene the way he left it. He would finish his junior year going 12-0 and winning another state title, this time tech falling Austin DeSanto in the finals. This showed that Spencer Lee didn't need a Super 32 belt to show how good he was. Then it was back to the normal routine. With the Junior World Championships coming up, Lee had one thing on his mind. The reason why he didn't rush back from his surgery or postpone it.
Right. The doctor told me you could have surgery now and then be back for states, or you can wrestle the whole season and have surgery in the summer. And I said, sir, three world titles to me is a lot better than 3 Powerade, 3 Ironman.
Of course.
So
He didn't care about winning Super 32 4 times or Ironman 4 times. He wanted to wrestle the best in the world to show that he was levels above everyone. And for the 2016 freestyle season, the junior division would adopt a new system where the winner of the US Open would sit out in the best of 3 final series. Spencer Lee would be back up to his old habits, tech falling everyone, outscoring the field 30-0. Then in the best of 3 series, you guessed it, he would tech fall in the finals, winning 10-0 in both matches. At the 2016 Junior World Championship, Spencer Lee would run through the competition with ease. 11-0 in the first round, followed by a 27-second fall, then 2 more tech falls to find himself in the finals. But what the wrestling world was not expecting was for Spencer Lee to be in a dogfight in the finals.
Defending champion, he's taking on Kyrgyzstan.
This match was truly amazing watching it live. I vividly remember freaking out at 3 o'clock in the morning watching this finals match. Spencer Lee would even be down at one point 8-3 late in the second. It looked like Spencer Lee wouldn't even repeat as a junior world champion, but after digging down deep, Spencer Lee would get down and dirty to win this dogfight. This match was so important not only at the time to grow the hype for Spencer Lee, but over time this match aged like fine wine, showing that he didn't always have to show up and win a blowout or a tech fall, that he was willing to get down and dirty to bang it out. And this is a championship level trait that all of the greats have, the ability to overcome adversity. After the match, Spencer Lee would even be crying during the interview, telling about everything that he faced during this tournament, leading up to this tournament in the last few months, showing that not rushing back after his labrum surgery was the right decision, and it let the wrestling world see how great Spencer Lee truly was, digging deep in that finals match. So before we get into Spencer Lee's senior year, let's backtrack a couple months prior, with Lee being one of the best in the country and ranked number 1 pretty much all of his high school career. Every college in America wanted to be Spencer Lee's next home, but it would come down to just 2 schools, Penn State and Iowa. At this time, the Cael Sanderson show was on full display, with Penn State winning their 4th team national title in 5 years. This same year, Penn State 125-pound Nico Megaludis will win his first and only NCAA championship. Trusting in Cael Sanderson's vision and plan for Nico to redshirt as a top guy at 125 pounds. I think it's worth mentioning that Nico also graduated from Franklin Regional High School, the same school that Spencer Lee now attends. In the finals matchup, Nico Megaludis would take out Thomas Gilman of Iowa. This season, Iowa would finish in 5th place at the national tournament, with every finalist, including Thomas Gilman, losing in the finals. So with hearing all of that and Spencer being from PA, it sounded like a no-brainer for him to go to Penn State. But one day, Flow Wrestling would be at Spencer Lee's house, and he would hold a 20-minute interview with the guys from Flow. And during this interview, he would go to Iowa over Penn State. This shook the whole state of PA, as many were outraged by Spencer Lee going to the quote-unquote enemy. Later in his career, Spencer Lee discussed that going to Penn State was the easy decision and going to Iowa was the right decision. This may be true. However, this isn't all of the reasons why he decided to go to Iowa. Penn State already had a high-level 125-pound athlete who was already committed to the program on the way. A year before Spencer Lee chose Iowa over Penn State, Super 32 rival Nick Soriano already committed to Penn State on August 15, 2015. Soriano would also be having an amazing high school career as he would be a 4-time New Jersey State champion and be undefeated throughout the process. Just like Spencer Lee, Nick Soriano won every major tournament, Super 32, Ironman, and the last time these two faced off many years ago, Spencer Lee would get the win, but you have to remember this would even the series. And out of all the common opponents that these two faced, there was one name that stood above the rest, and that was Dayton Fix, a guy who beat Spencer Lee in 2 straight matches and a guy that Nick Soriano beat in a 30-minute war. Another forgotten puzzle piece to this is Spencer Lee's best friend, Gavin Teasdale, who I actually have a video coming out very soon about in the near future, was also at Spencer Lee's house during this time period. He would also commit to Iowa on the same day, making Gavin and Spencer Lee a 1-2 punch. So if they wanted to go to Penn State, how could Spencer Lee, Nick Soriano, and Gavin Teasdale all see the mat? Lastly, Spencer Lee was the poster boy for none other than the Young Guns Wrestling Academy. This is where Spencer Lee trained 24/7 to become the #1 recruit in the class of 2017. Young Guns was not even the best wrestling academy in the state of PA, but maybe in the country, as it produced top guys like Spencer Lee, Gavin Teasdale, Michael Kemmer, Jason Knopf, just to name a few. So who was the mad scientist behind all of this Young Gun success? None other than Jody Strickmatter, an Iowa alum who was a 2-time All-American for the Hawkeyes. The relationship between Jody and the Brands brothers definitely helped the situation, and ultimately I think that's why Spencer Lee picked Iowa over Penn State, not because of Jody Strickmatter, because of the situations that was happening all at once. With Gavin Teasdale wanting to go to Iowa, with Jody already having a connection to Iowa, with Nick Soriano already being there, this just made the quote-unquote easy decision of going to Penn State not sound like the best fit as the quote-unquote hard or right decision to go to Iowa. Coming into his final year of high school, Spencer Lee has done it all at this point. He was #1 pound for pound and won everything there was to win in the high school landscape. Super 32 belt, Ironman titles, world championships on 3 different occasions. Along with this, he had an undefeated record in the tough state of PA. 109 wrestlers stepped up and 109 wrestlers got put in their place by Spencer Lee. He wasn't just beating top guys, he was making the process of beating them look like 1st grade math. Spencer Lee was 1 season away from joining an elite company like Kerry Colat, who had 137 wins, no losses. Chance Marsteller, who had 166 wins, no losses. Both PA legends. Now it's time for Spencer Lee to place his name as one of the best to ever come out of this tough state. But the road wasn't easy for Spencer Lee. He had to miss his entire junior season, but this paid off with him becoming a 2-time junior world champion in the process. Now coming into his senior year of high school, all the hype that he faced even before becoming a freshman in high school came to fruition. So now being fully healthy, it was back to business for Spencer Lee as usual. But he didn't go to Super 32. He didn't need to. Super 32 would be won by Joey Silva of Lake Highland Prep that year. Beating Austin DeSanto in the finals, Lee would face off versus Joey Silva in the Ironman finals of that year, with a lot of people posing the question, could the boy from Florida get it done versus the best that high school wrestling had to offer? Joey Silva had been lights out for a long time and had 3 Super 32 belts of his own, but Spencer Lee would pass this test with flying colors. Then he would follow this up by winning another Powerweight championship, ending the first half of his senior season just like he did the last 3. But then something changed.
I ran over by a teammate. It was all kind of a blur to me now, to be honest, but I remember like freaking out because like if you ever torn your ACL, it felt like almost like a gunshot in your knee.
On January the 23rd, Spencer Lee would suffer a knee injury. However, this wasn't anything new for Spencer Lee as he's had injuries in the past, but this one was different. Later down the line in February, it was revealed that Spencer Lee had tore his ACL completely. With this type of injuries, most guys would have just thrown in the towel on their quest for history. With his parents having the wisdom to not see short-term goals, his father would encourage him to think about his future, think about Iowa, and then focusing on rehabbing his knee because as great as Spencer Lee was, college was another step up. But Spencer Lee had no intention on ending his senior year in the doctor's office. He would actually go the complete opposite way from his father, electing to keep wrestling this year to see if he could actually get it done. Spencer has been quoted on saying, "I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I gave up. What if I could actually do it? What if I could actually win my 4th state title on a torn ACL?" If Spencer Lee was able to do this, this would show how great he really was and how many levels he was above the field. Think back to Spencer Lee winning his world championship on a torn labrum, or when he won his 2nd junior world championships with 2 cracked ribs. This had to give Spencer Lee a competitor's rush that he got after those wins, after facing that much adversity like no other. When you've been great at something for so long like he has, you always want more. You're always trying to one-up yourself. Spencer Lee would finish out the rest of his senior season winning sectionals with no problem. But the problems came when he was competing at regionals. Just before the finals, Spencer would tweak his knee, falling right in front of his opponent and his coaches. Spencer Lee would actually make quick work of this same opponent, going into the state tournament with all eyes on Spencer Lee with history on the line. However, this wasn't the same Spencer Lee that dominated this same tournament like years prior. It would take everything, all of his willpower, to make it to the state finals versus the same guy he just tagged the year prior, Austin DeSanto. But this Austin DeSanto was on a vision quest of his own. DeSanto was looking to be the guy who dethroned the great Spencer Lee. For Spencer, it wasn't about his 4th state title, it was about self-worth and to see if he could actually pull it off. And for Austin DeSanto, it was about self-redemption. He was looking to right a wrong that happened in the state finals a year ago. And this match will be a true treat for everyone present at the Giant Center that evening. With a last-second takedown, Austin DeSanto would shock the wrestling world and beat Spencer Lee in a 6-5 match. This may be one of the greatest high school wrestling upsets in the 21st century, with Austin becoming somewhat famous in the wrestling world after this upset. As the crowd went crazy, people cheered, some even booed Spencer Lee, yelling the patented Penn State "We Are" slogan to him as he walked off the mat. With so much chaos going on, I don't think anyone realized that one of the greatest prodigies that the high school wrestling world has ever seen, career just came to an end. Just like that. Not in a doctor's office surrounded by family and loved ones, but in the spotlight. Something that's just super poetic for Spencer Lee because before even coming to high school, the spotlight had been placed on him. And it's something that he never asked for. Spencer Lee would end his career with 144 wins, only 1 loss, 3 age level world titles, 3 PA state titles, and most importantly, living up to all the expectations that was placed on him before even entering high school.